Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Hassani,
Hey, I'm Danny.
and we are here to talk about a very controversial topic. We got to talk
Yeah.
about this thing. This has been all over the internet. It's been going viral. Conversations about this whole idea of marriage. If you have not heard, if you've been under a rock, NBA legend Paul Pierce stirred up controversy with a bold statement that he made that marriage is for old people and poor people. Found it kind of amusing. And I said, you know what, Couples Academy's got to weigh in on this. But before we get started,
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, guys. Hit that share button so that you do not miss an episode.
also, we want to let you know that Heart Life Marriage Getaway 2025 is fast approaching, along with the Phoenix Awards Gala. It is November the 6th through the 8th. Go to the link in the description and sign up today. It's going to be an amazing experience. And as you know, every single month, the second weekend of the month, we have our last chance weekend. So June 13th through the 14th in Atlanta. You want to be there. If you're going through challenges in your relationship, make sure you register. And once again, June 3rd, we're excited about it because Caught in the Act Double Life will be on MTV. And I will be with Tamar Braxton as we really help people to unpack this double life and the betrayal and the impact that it has on relationships. But we're going to dive right into today's conversation. Danielle, you had a chance to see it. We're about to share this with the audience. There's so much to break down in this clip. Maybe I should just go straight to it and we play this thing. So it's about 3 minutes. He says a few things in here, and I want us to be able to speak to those things. And for those of you who are watching, listen, please weigh in. We want your comments. We want to know what you think because this is something worthy to discuss. So let's take a look.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like every relationship shouldn't be based off of sex, but every relationship is based off of that.
I don't think so.
100%. You can't tell me nothing different. This is what I feel, and that's why I'll never be in another relationship because it's always based off of that.
So you're not going to be in another relationship?
Hell no. For what? Because it's going to be based off the sex. Once that wear down, you're going to go find somebody else that's better. Yeah. It ain't going to be based off of, this is the thing, and listen carefully. Listen carefully.
I'm listening.
Relationships, let me tell you what marriage is all about. Or let me tell you what marriage is and who's marriage for. Marriage is for old people and poor people.
Okay, so let's get into that. Why?
Because when you broke, our parents, like my moms and all them, they married on a merit of like, okay, we're going to put our incomes together, have all these kids, and then when our kids, we're going to have 5, 10 kids back in the 60s, all them, they're going to have 5, 10 kids so they can work and bring income.
Yeah.
So you poor. So you married for that. And now when you get old, somebody that to be by your side to take care of you. Right now, my mom got married. My mom never been married in my lifetime. She got married when she was 70.
Wow.
It was perfect. She had somebody by her side the whole way through.
So do you...
I really believe that. Like, that's what, like, outside of that, it's no advantage to a man. Why is marriage advantage? What advantage, what does it do for a man when things go south? Like, we gonna have to give up half our this, pay child support, but what do it's only advantageous to a woman. Like, it's real talk.
But what if you meet a woman and you're like, wow, she's a gem, she's valuable, she's everything, and I want to lock her down in marriage?
I don't want to lock no woman down. We could be cool.
So you're telling me right now today,
you
on January 4th, you do not want to be in a relationship ever again?
I don't think it's realistic long term until I turn 70.
I am done. I've never been more done with a brother.
I'm 47 right now. Until I turn 70, that's the only realistic part I see is because we both old. We ain't out in the streets. We at home watching TV. You go take me to the hospital. I'm going to take you to the hospital. That's it. But right now, I'm too cracking right now. So what I need to
is
do
it because you feel like you
what I need to do all that for?
That is hilarious. Listen, I'm only married to you to make sure that you could take me to the hospital when something goes wrong. But other than that, we can watch TV. But it is.
He's too cracking right now. He's too cracking right now. So, you know, I mean, honestly, I'm listening to him and I have a lot of empathy for him because, you know, he's speaking from his truth and his perspective. That's what life has shown him. Do you know what I'm saying? You said he's an ex NFL player or NBA player?
NBA player, yeah.
NBA player. And, so of course, that lifestyle, right? So you have as many women as you want. And a lot of the women in that circle, they're looking for a come up. He's not wrong. They're looking to catch, an NBA player and be that chick. And so, he's speaking from his perspective. And so that's his truth. And then also the fact that his mother got married at 70, that's also what he's seen and what's been modeled for him. So it's almost like, there's a million reasons why he's absolutely wrong. But I'm sure if he were to, share the stories of his life, he probably has a million reasons why this is true for him.
I think, when I initially saw this, I'm like, he's right. He's wrong, but he's right in certain ways, but in a convoluted type of way. And I think that there could be, it's almost like there are truths that someone can speak, but it's not the truth, in its absoluteness, right? So first of all, he has sworn himself to never be in a relationship again, right? And this whole idea that, hey, relationships are based upon sex. And when the sex is no longer good, you move on and find somebody else. That is a very destructive way of thinking. That is something that will keep you from being in a relationship, because now the only purpose that you serve, the only lens that I look through is a sexual lens, right? So now I've got to dehumanize you and objectify you and only look at you for what you can physically and sexually provide. That is your worth. When you no longer please me in that space, I push you to the side and move on to another person. That creates a whole lot of hurt, harm, bitterness, resentment, because when it's just about sex, it actually creates distrust. Walls go up. It becomes very transactional, and it doesn't really serve. And we see that many people who come to us as clients, unfortunately, there's been betrayals in the marriage. They've taken a similar approach to dealing with people. It's all about sex and transactions, but it does more harm than good. As they say, love lasts for hours, sex lasts for minutes, orgasms last for seconds. So if your whole entire drive is about a few seconds of pleasure, then there's nothing that's sustainable that can come from that type of mindset or behavior, But I think I want to go deeper, because he's unpacked so many different things. He said that marriage is for old people. And to your point, Danielle, his mom got married at 70 years old. There's nothing normal about that. When you look at the statistics, you find that it's far from the truth. Like in America, the average age that a person gets married is 32 years old. So it's approximately like 30.5 years, 30 and a half years for men, 28 years for women. But even if you look at it from a global perspective, like the oldest age on average people get married is 38. In Spain, it's 38, Chile, 37, South Korea, 37, Argentina, 36. But on the lowest side, Liberia, 21, Chad, 19. So there's no context for it's only for old people. Actually, it's for all ages. But most people typically.
What's the youngest place that you named?
Chad. It's a country in Africa.
And they get married, what you said, 19?
19 years old.
Okay, that doesn't even seem crazy, because we used to get married very, very young.
Yeah.
In this country. Right. Yeah. So
I think about my grandparents. Like I think my grandfather was like 15. My grandmother was 14. I just spoke. I'm here in Jersey with them. Yes.
They're not that old to be getting married that young.
But back in the day, I'm like 14 years old. Like I could never think about Sydney.
Oh my God, please.
You know what I'm saying? But I spoke to my mother because I'm here in Jersey with her for the holidays. She got married at 19. She said she got married at Madison's age. 19.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
But you know what? For some reason, because that doesn't seem as crazy. That doesn't seem as, I can't see Maddie getting married, but that doesn't seem as crazy to me as I would have thought maybe years ago. If somebody is mature enough, but 19 is young. The point is, people are getting married young. They're starting their lives out and building something at a young age, not, going into the grave typically. I mean, you see people getting married and they have, an opportunity to, have a partner before they pass away. But a lot of times they did that already. So his perspective is skewed in that way. And he's looking at that. But when I heard him talk about, when he's 70, I'm just thinking about who wants to take care of your broke down, busted and disgusted, sick and decrepit, too many partners, disease-ridden self at 70? Who's signing up for that? And I don't know if the man has all these diseases. I'm just saying the template that he lives by, where he's never going to get married. I'm sure that doesn't mean that he plans to be abstinent, means that he's going to partner himself. And, it's almost like prostitution, because if you have this ability to continuously partner yourself with somebody who you are unwilling to give your heart to, you're unwilling to give, to share your life with them. Number one, you're prostituting yourself, but you're actually spending your time with prostitute-minded people, unless you're leading them astray. It doesn't sound like he's trying to lead anybody astray. He's out here telling you, I'm not marrying anybody. So anybody that's willing to partner with him understands that this is all it is. It's just physical. So you got to be willing to lower yourself to that standard and that expectation to be with him.
It's interesting because you're right. Some people are just in that state where they know what it is and it is what it is. But we don't realize that there's residue that you carry from this type of relationship or these types of relationships, because once you get into a committed relationship, once you're ready for that, whenever that is, you have a perception that's skewed about members of the opposite sex. They all like this. They only want that. All they care about is that, because of the type of interactions, the flesh connections or flesh cash connections that you came from. So it's almost like you got to go through a process of unlearning and relearning about what a healthy relationship even looks like.
Let me jump into these comments because I think they're good. I'm looking at Brandon Snake. If you want to put that up, he's saying, my wife and I aren't poor or rich, and we're not old, right? Early 40s. It's for communication and trust. And trustworthy couples. Real talk. I mean, that part, like that intimacy and that connection, that, the history of any relationship. I can talk to Hassani about things that nobody else knows, right? And we will crack up over things that nobody else understands because we have intimacy and connection and we've been together for so long. And so, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's almost like he is shortchanging himself. Natural Beauty says he's a clown. He wants a caretaker, not a wife. Amen to that.
I was thinking about that, Danielle, because, like this whole idea of getting married at 70, like any woman or man for that matter, who gets married at that age, they're signing up for responsibility.
Doctor's appointments, vitamin regimen, and medicine. Come on.
See, now, Danielle, we got married in our early 20s. So by the time we hit 70, it's just like, of course, of course I'm going to take you. Of course I want to serve you. Of course I want to. But when we don't have years of experience, we don't have nothing, and I'm signing up for that. Like, it's literally, crazy. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Brandon says Paul Pierce is a weird dude, needs to check his priorities. I mean, I don't know the dude personally, but I definitely can agree that he probably should check his priorities because, it's self-centered behavior, right? Very self-centered behavior, but it's also self-destructive behavior because, he's signing up for a long road of exchanges with no real meaning and no real connection, no depth. And that's just not good for the soul. And, when God designed marriage, he created it a good thing. And he said, he's the creator of all of us. He said, it's not good for us to be alone. And when he created Eve, he intentionally created a woman. So there's something to be said about the companionship and the partnership between a husband and a wife, a male and a female. It's one thing to have 1,000 friends, that you're not alone. You got friends, you got community, you got people that, love you and remember you from your heydays and all of that. but there's something that cannot be replaced when there is a connection between a woman and a man, and there's a covenant between the two.
For sure, for sure. Danielle, one of the other things we have to talk about is this whole idea of it being for poor people. Now, the statement in itself is ridiculous. I think I understand the context. What he's basically saying is, back in the day, poor people came together and, their idea was we're going to bring our money together. We're going to have these kids. We're going to send them out there. They going to work, bring money into the house. So they were using it as a come up. And so the first thing I did was I said, okay, let me do some fact checking, right? Because fact checking is important. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get married to have children as a financial come up. So I said, well, how much does it cost to raise a child from birth to 18? It's literally $233,000. Now, I don't care how many kids you have. There's no child between those ages living in your home who's going to go out and generate that amount of income and bring it back into the household. So the idea of we're having kids to make money is insane. It's going to cost you money. I don't know how our parents and grandparents did it. Like they had 8 and 9 kids. That's true.
Yeah.
They were stretched.
Listen, he's not wrong in how that's true. People used to do that. I think about even my own family, and there were 7 of them. And they lived on a farm, and and granddaddy was a sharecropper, and they were eating boiled noodles. I mean, I've heard all the stories. The point is they were, I don't know how much of a come up it was, but I mean, and they weren't slaving in the fields, but we know that those things did happen. And we also know that there is some truth that there used to be value, or we used to value family. That was legacy, and there was wealth in the size of your family, right? Well, things have changed, okay, as you just explained, right? It is very expensive to have a whole bunch of children. But I get the point that he's making. It's an antiquated point, but a point nonetheless. Plus, in his world, obviously, it is a come up for people, right? You got people who are thirsty, right? They call these people thirst traps, and they're trying to get you for your money and all that. We know that those situations do exist, but that's not the purpose. And I think that unfortunately, because of his environment, right? His environment creates his reality. And so this is real for him. But the women and the pool of women that he's around aren't necessarily wife material all the time, right? That's a big deal. Just because you're a woman and you're sexy and you're fine doesn't make you a wife or wife material. So I think he's neglecting and negating the difference between being with a woman and having sex, and that's what it's all about, and being with a wife whose design is to improve your life, who is made to level you up. And leveling up isn't just about money. There's a lot of people who have a lot of money who are a complete and total disaster. Their life is a disaster. Their soul is in shambles. Their home is a wreck. Their relationship are distorted and jacked up. A wife, a proper wife, a suitable helper comes into that man's world and makes it better. It completes. It helps him fulfill his purpose, all of the things. And so he's not aware of that because that's not the environment that he's in. And that's not the perspective that he sees from.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, to your point, like there's so many, when he talks about there's no advantages for a man to be married, when we'll get there in a second, because that's also convoluted, meaning twisted. I think I understand where he's going when he says it, but when you just dissect the actual text, if we were to take his transcript and read it to validate, to confirm, to correct, a lot of statements he's making are very loose and very wrong. There's an incalculable number of benefits to men and women when it comes to marriage. I mean, we know statistically for both people, generally speaking, it improves your physical health. It does result in financial stability. There's emotional support. There's social recognition and status. There's sexual satisfaction. Then you have, growing a family together, like this, the nucleus of the family. So there are benefits to that. I think what he was saying, and we can have this conversation, and there is some truth to what he's saying. Divorce doesn't typically benefit men. It benefits women. So because the state is more in favor of women's rights and how they benefit from the divorce. But to say that there's no benefit to the marriage for men is completely insane.
Well, let me just drop a little tag on that too, because that's also shifting. And, you know, listen, men are getting hip to the game and are literally running game. And so it's not always that the woman is making out like a fat cat with every divorce. You know, men understand what they need to do and they're doing it so that they're in the position to be getting cut a check. And I'm seeing that more and more. And I'm not saying, listen, this is very, this is very biased. But because I'm more of a traditional woman, I believe that a man should take care of a woman. And so as much as I do believe that in a divorce, a man should be taking care of this woman, I also do not like the idea of a woman taking care of a man. It just does not sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me. But at the end of the day, men are understanding that game and they're getting paid off too. So it really depends on the status of the person. If the wife is making the bank, then he's about to get paid. And a lot of men are looking for sugar mamas too. So let's just balance that out.
I mean, but the truth of the matter is, you know, the game is being run by the state. And I think that when we
get
married, oh yeah, for sure. And when we get married, we don't realize that we're entering not just into a covenant with each other and God, but we're entering into a contractual agreement with the state. And the state ultimately wins, but laws are set up and designed to serve women, and women justifiably have gotten what they've needed to sustain life. But there have been many women, okay, who've been running game for a long time, who know how to manipulate the system. And so many men literally get beat down, shut out, and destroyed financially, just in a multitude of ways, which has created more of a distrust, a disdain for the whole idea of marriage. And it's not that men necessarily fear commitment and fear marriage. What they're really scared of is divorce. Matter of fact, there's a phenomenal book called The Myth of Male Power. And it talks about how many men, it's not like they don't want to get married. They don't want a divorce. Now, the problem is they don't get married because they don't believe that a marriage can last, because a lot of us lack the skill, the knowledge, the know-how of how to have a successful, healthy relationship. And everyone that we see around us is divorcing. So I don't want to be the next in line. So if I get a divorce, now I'm still legally and financially tied to people who hate me. The woman I was with hates me. She's trained those children to hate me. But now for the next number of years, I'm financially, I'm responsible. Then I get married to somebody else, and now I got a check split multiple ways. So this is what I'm saying. Like, when we bring culture and when we bring government and state into God's institution, it really messes everything up.
For sure. You have a lot of people basically saying that they are going to live this unmarried life and marry, by spiritual laws, right? They don't want to go get that paper and get that license, because that license gives the government license over their marriage, which means it gives the government control over your marriage. It gives the government control over your family. Ultimately, if things don't go well, you don't get to decide, right? And so people are stepping away from that and basically common law marriage, right? Because it's safer and the government stays out of it. But let's go to the comments here, because first of all, let's just acknowledge Wes and Nisha Stringfellow, who are with us, and they are the founders of Heart Life Ministry, y'all. And we talked about the Phoenix Awards Gala is being hosted this year at the Marriage Getaway. We want y'all to go ahead and register for that. It's going to be incredible. And also, don't forget to, when you go to the website, which is thephoenixawards.org, I want you to make sure you nominate a couple, nominate a powerful couple that has overcome something amazing, and let us read about their story. You don't know if you might put somebody on that stage this year, which would be really amazing. Okay, but let's go to these comments here. So Sean Edie was basically saying that people did marry younger in the past, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And then Natural says Joe Jackson did it. I don't know what you were referencing when you said that, but
I think he was talking about the fact that they had all these kids and work those kids to make money for the household.
Sure did.
I mean,
Yeah, you know who else did it? The tennis player's father. I mean, it was just 2 kids, but he sure worked that magic out of them. So many do it. Yes. And then also, that's true. Halle Berry's ex is getting paid. And listen, there are a lot of husbands out here getting paid. And Halle Berry, she's up there. Okay. She's got money. But I know people from our own company here who, unfortunately, things did not work out in their favor. Their marriage did not work out. And he's getting paid. And guess what? He was the unfaithful one. He was the offender. So make that make sense. And so going back to why people are stepping away from the government and these licenses that give them authority over your relationship and doing this common law thing under God's sight is because of stuff like this. The fact that somebody can step out and be unfaithful in a marriage and then also collect a check from you while they're with another woman, that's insane. But the government doesn't necessarily make sense. So, I mean, we're saying all this and saying like, hey, we get what he is saying. We get what dude is talking about. But there's a whole nother perspective to understand about God's law and marriage and the benefits of it that he's missing out on because he's got narrow perspective based on his experiences in life. Okay.
Natural Beauty says women today aren't like the women in the past. Shame and morals have disappeared, and women want to okay the role of men these days.
We talked about that a little bit yesterday, that, things are different out here. You have a whole different kind of a language and perspective, like how women, they don't really want a man to be like, what is it? Like chivalrous, right? It's just like, it's 50-50. I don't need you to do this. I got mine. You got yours. Like there's this, let's come together and still be divided type of mentality out there. Let's come together equal. Like what are your stats? What are you coming to the table with? Okay, I'm coming with body, yada, yada. I'm coming with 7 figures. I got my own place. I got my own car, blah, 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 And then, well, I'm 6 feet. You know what I mean? Like everybody's coming with this checklist and none of it is spiritual. None of it. It's all physical, carnal, external things that people are bringing to the table. And maybe that's why there's a struggle. Maybe that's why it's like, when I get bored with this body yada, I'm on to the next, because there's no spiritual connection or blueprint in how they're coming together.
The fact of the matter is the blueprint that we're talking about was created by God, right? God created the whole institution of marriage. And there's a culture that was built into that institution. But when you allow society and its culture to influence how you do marriage inside of God's institution, it's always going to go wrong. And so that's why you see all the superficiality today. And these are the things that cause relationships not to work. Because if your worth and your value, as beautiful as you are, great body, brilliant, if that's your value, well, you're a depreciating asset. Because as you age out of beauty and body, generally speaking, you know what I'm saying? If as a man, my value is solely in the check that I bring to the table, well, I'm going to out-age at that, because typically I'm going to make less as I get older if I'm not managing my finances correctly. So all of these things are,
and you're going to shrink if you're 6 feet too. Like you're shrinking.
Here it is, right? Here it is, right?
Yeah.
So beauty, body, bank account, all of those things are external things that diminish over time. And there's got to be those intrinsic inner qualities that actually grow. It's just like they say wine gets sweeter with age. There's some intangible things that get better with age if you're intentional.
We need like some type of a training ground for men and women who have a heart after traditional marriage, because the culture is getting lost, right? Because we have more and more divorce, and more people are being raised in homes where they did not see a 2-parent household at all. There's all this information out here. And so it's just so skewed and convoluted. And we need some place where people are coming to learn these things. I saw an episode of, anybody heard of Pop the Balloon? Have you heard of Pop the Balloon?
Yeah,
where all these people come up. And there was this young woman. I mean, she wasn't that young. I mean, I think she was at least in her mid-30s, a little bit older. And she basically was going through the room. And there was this one guy that, to me, he just had his head together. Like, out of all the guys in the room, he had a lot of male mentors. He had a father he respected, uncles and stuff. And he talked about how integrity was the one thing that he learned. And he just was talking right. Okay. He wasn't a bad looking guy, nothing. This woman went down the road and picked everybody off for the most superficial things. It's like, it was about the teeth. I'm a teeth person. The man there was nothing wrong with the teeth. I don't know what she needed. Did she need veneers? But I'm just saying, like, did you hear what he said though? You know, like, what are you expecting? Like, we're going to go down the line and we're going to pick a mate based on teeth. I mean, teeth matter now. Let's be clear. Clean your teeth and make it right. But I'm just making the point. Let's not negate all the qualities that make a person worthy of your time. Everything is so superficial. If you don't look, people will get popped because their shoes and their shirt don't match. And you didn't even hear this person has a brain. He's thinking. He loves God. He has integrity. What are you doing? And then, you know, they end up at Couples Academy complaining about, you know, the man that they chose. You know, it's just.
Danielle, I love what Cool the Lover says. He says, all people seem to care about is the optics. And that's true. And I think we live in a Kevin, even though he's no longer here, Kevin Samuels to me, or the spirit of
the
Kevin
residue
Samuels did so much damage to the culture. First of all, it perverted the dating game. Like, the dating game has shifted and changed. And he's not the only one, but he was a general in this thought arc, right? Amongst several others. And so it has shaped the way we date. So now there's no trust, there's competition. But what's even worse, his audience were single people. But unfortunately, married men are listening to this food. And it has literally destroyed and deteriorated their relationships because they began to see their spouse. Things were well, or maybe not. But now they had something to hold their hat on to justify why they think and do the things that they do, which would justify bad behaviors and betrayals. And, you know, I need to get out of this relationship. She ain't, you know, giving me what I need. She ain't what I want. And it has just messed everything up. And so we need almost like a reboot. It reminds me of the movie Men in Black. You know how Will Smith would take that taser and say, well, look to the light, right? We all need to be zapped, right? And to take on a new consciousness, because I'm telling you, it is so perverted.
So real. I just want to jump to the comments real quick. Hey, Martin, Matt. Yeah, Martin, we see you. I don't have my glasses on. Martin and Chelsea are here. They are our amazing financial
truth. Yes.
Financial advisors. And yes, that's a powerful comment. Teeth over truth. And we do this, we overlook. And if we could just get that flashlight and do a reset, but really, if we could get more people interested in it, I think what happens is that people go down the wrong road on purpose, and, you know, or not necessarily on purpose, out of ignorance, all right, doing whatever you want to do. And then after the fact, you want to kind of recant what you did. You want to fix it after the fact. If only we could get people to look at this before they partner up with the wrong person, before they get themselves entangled in situations that they struggle to get out of, we would be so much further ahead. We would bring those statistics up when it comes to these divorce rates. Divorce rates are through the roof. If you were growing up in this generation, you would probably question the validity of marriage as well, with all the content that's coming out and all the evidence. Who is showing a great picture of it? You can't go to no church and get a good picture of it. You can't go out in the world. Like, nobody is showing you, except for us, we're trying, right? What marriage can be. And so maybe we need to make that class, Hassani.
We absolutely do. Class. Before you go to the next one, I cut you off by mistake, but Martin and Chelsea, you were mentioning them. They are phenomenal. Listen, what they do is amazing for couples. We're talking about the finances and how marriage is for old people, for poor people, which is insane. Martin and Chelsea and Matthews do a phenomenal job of bringing financial literacy and insight and strategy into people's lives when it comes to not just money management, but wealth creation, wealth preservation, wealth accumulation, just all the things. So definitely check them out. Go to their page. There's another comment that came in, Danielle, from Brandon Snake. People nowadays seem to live off of others' expectations or the social medias of the world instead of their own.
That's good.
So
and I like what Natural said too. She said exactly, responding to what Martin said. Teeth can be fixed. It's his character that counts, right? Teeth can be fixed. Character, that's a lot harder to work on. That's a long road, okay?
Yeah,
and that long road takes mutual agreement. You can't fix his character. And so, good Lord, like, I mean, I don't know. We just need a reset. Everybody's talking about like a government reset. We need like a relational reset in this country.
But I want to go back. I want to go back to what Brandon said, because, you know, the whole expectations and how our idea and expectations of relationships are now shaped by social media. You know, it has been said that things like OnlyFans and Instagram have really destroyed not only self-esteem and proper expectations for what a healthy relationship looks like. It has really diminished the need for quality relationship, because everything is based upon optics, as what was said, external things that are fleeting. And now you have men and women trying to live up to this expectation of what they believe a man and a woman is supposed to be. And it may work to get likes, clicks, and shares, but it doesn't work for a healthy relationship.
Exactly that. Go to Omar's other comment here. It says one lady was 5'4", but 5'1" without heels, and a guy was 5'11", said he was short and wanted a taller man on the Pop the Balloon. Right? Like,
this is what I'm saying.
Because Kevin Samuels has trained even the women. You know, like you have that mentality has just seeped into the thinking of men and women that, okay, he's got to be 6 feet. Okay, 6 feet at least. Okay. You know, it's just crazy. And we really need to do something to support people before they make these terrible decisions. I love, also Kathy's here. Hey, Kathy, I haven't seen you in a while. I miss your face. Love you, girl. And she says, too many pretty males over honest, handsome, godly men. Or wholesome, I think she means to say. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And, you know, prayer, y'all, we need to be praying, because the generation is at stake here. We're talking about legacy here. We're talking about the future. This is the environment that our own children have to grow up in, and they have to pick mates in this environment.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, we could talk on this for another hour, but our time is up. Listen, this was a great conversation, and I think we're going to do more of this. There's a lot of things that are happening in the culture, and we need to give voice to it so that we can give clarity and proper perspective, so that you know how to govern your life and your relationship in the right direction. Listen, before we go, don't forget who we are and what we do. It's funny. People have been watching us for years and will then say, I didn't know you offer services. I didn't know that you counsel people. And it's just like, really? Really, really, really? So I just want you to hear from some of our clients, quick testimonial, and then we're going to end by just talking about our services in a commercial. We loved having you today. Just know that we love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. See you guys.
Hi, I'm Tamiko Brown Johnson, and this is my husband, Myron Johnson. We found Mr. Hassani on actually Facebook. We saw it advertising as Couples Academy, and I thought it was very, very interesting. We were in a little trouble, and Mr. Hassani, we did a couple of sessions with him, the weekly sessions, and then he suggested the intensive sessions, which turned out to be phenomenal. Loved it. Great experience. We'll do it again. Probably will do it again. It was very, very intense.
Progress is continuing to grow, but the major hurdles that we've had, Hassani has put us on a program to where we can actually identify a lot of things that have been a shortcoming in our understanding about the things we were having problems with, which wasn't as clear to us as it was to him. So we actually appreciate how he took his time, formatted a bunch of questions in a form to where it actually brought us to a mirror image of each other. And that program has kind of brought us back to the place where we fell in love all over again. What'd you say?
I like that Mr. Hassani was so hands-on. It was almost like an intervention when you lock someone up in the room and try to get them off drugs. It was like a real live intervention. If we needed him 24 hours a day, he was there. We stayed up sometimes till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He was very, very hands-on, basically exactly what we needed. He did not leave our side. He didn't forsake us. What he told us to have faith in, it was very much so worth it.